Hello.
Richard, we're live streaming, so everyone's on mute because it's actually up live on YouTube.
Hello.
Hey, Richard.
Hello.
Richard, we're live streaming, so everyone's on mute because it's actually up live on YouTube. Hey, Richard.
Hello.
Richard, we're live streaming, so everyone's on mute because it's actually up live on YouTube.
Hola.
Okay, I think we're live. We're just looking, there's 95 attendees. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes just to make sure we get some more actually come on. For those that are listening online, the attendees, this is being we're live. We're just looking, there's 95 attendees. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes just to make sure we get some more actually come on. For those that are listening online, the attendees, this is being we're live. We're just looking, there's 95 attendees. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes just to make sure we get some more actually come on. For those that are listening online, the attendees, this is being we are live on YouTube, and there's a slight delay on the recording, so you may hear my voice twice at the moment for some reason. Those that are listening online, the attendees, this is we are live on YouTube, and there's a slight delay on the recording, so you may hear my voice twice at the moment for some reason. Those that are listening online, the attendees, we are live on YouTube, and there's a slight delay on the recording, so you may hear my voice twice at the moment for some reason. Those that are listening online, the attendees, we are live on YouTube, and there's a slight delay on the recording, so you may hear my voice twice at the moment for some reason. Those that are Okay, well, welcome to the 2020 USSA AGM and the 2021 US Soccer Adult Council meeting. Firstly, some housekeeping. To help us take a roll call and to identify speakers, can you please ensure that your name and organization is displayed? USSA AGM and the 2021 US Soccer Adult Council meeting. Firstly, we will ask that all of those whose names aren't displayed We will ask them to actually identify themselves in a moment. As we have consistently communicated, only voting delegates are able to attend this meeting. This is to ensure that accurate voting strength is maintained for the polls and will be used as a means of acclamation. Any non-voting attendees will be removed, but can follow the meeting on YouTube. The link is currently posted on the US Adult Soccer website. If you are using a cell phone, you need to be logged on to the app. This will enable you to actually utilize the features today. Just so that everybody knows, this meeting is being recorded. I legally have to tell you that. So some of the features we're going to be using the chat feature. The chat function will be on, but has limited capabilities on a Zoom webinar and only allows messages between attendees and panelists. If you need to communicate with your other delegates, I suggest you text message them. The chat function will not be monitored. So I repeat, will not be monitored. For any business related issues and questions, please use the question and answer feature, the Q&A feature at the bottom of your page there. Carissa Richardson will be monitoring the Q&A and she will pose your questions to the relevant person. We will also use the raise hand feature during discussions. And again, Carissa will monitor this to see who is requesting to speak. Once you put your hand up, we'll click on you, we'll get you to speak. There may be a little bit of delay on that, so just have some patience, please. But everybody will get their opportunity to speak. A voice vote of acclamation on Zoom sounds like a herd of water buffalo, so we possibly will be using the polling feature. For the elections, we used Election Runner. We've received 81% of the votes in so far. So if you haven't yet voted, please try to do so in the next 5 minutes. So actually we can close the ballots earlier. I think we've communicated that we would keep those ballots open until 2 o'clock. But if you could actually vote now, if you haven't done so already, that would be very, very helpful. Once the ballots close, we will display the results of the elections on the screen as a percentage. So now I'm going to hand over to John, and he's going to run the meeting from here. So let me just get John to speak.
Am I on? Are we ready, Duncan?
He's good, right?
Okay, good. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 2020 USASA AGM, which should have been held.
Yes.
Should have been held in September. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 2020 USASA AGM, which should have been held.
Yes.
Should have been held in September. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our hear that echo. USASA AGM, which should have been held.
Yes.
Hey, Duncan, did you hear the echo? Duncan. Is the echo gone?
Is that working now?
Let's try it.
That's better, right?
Yeah, I hope. Okay, so.
Thanks to Steve Hepburn on that one. Thank you, Steve.
All right. Thanks, everyone, again, for joining us for our AGM. And I would actually like to call the meeting to order right now. And to begin the meeting, I would like us to begin with a moment of silence. As we well know, this year has been a very, very difficult year for our country, for the world. Many people have passed due to the COVID-19 virus. There were people from our soccer family that had passed away due to the COVID virus. And so I would like to take a moment of silence to remember all of those that have passed and to pray for those that may be still suffering from the pandemic, and also, keep in our prayers the people that may be still suffering without, electric down in Texas and other parts of the country. So let's all bow our heads and take a moment of silence. Thank you. And I believe the roll call is being done by Jen, Nick, and Duncan. Am I correct?
Yeah. Right now, Nick Webster, you're on twice, so we need to identify which one of you is on. And Peggy, you're on twice as well, so we need to check who's on, which one is actually Peggy. So I think Jen and Nick will go down the list now and try and identify you. So bear with us just a couple of seconds. They're the only two queries we have right now.
Are we going to be doing a credentials report, Duncan? Well, he's gone. Duncan, are we doing a credentials report?
There will be. We're just 2 seconds. If Peggy could actually use the raise hand function on the one that she's on, so we can identify which one she is.
There was a question regarding anonymous people listed as anonymous attendees. I'm not sure what the person is seeing. We have names associated with all attendees in the participant list.
Yeah, we can see all the attendees. So we're actually taking a roll call. It won't be a verbal roll call. As I said, we're just looking at these. And we need to know who's on the phone number 203-519-5190. We'll allow you to talk in a second so we can find out who you are. We got it. It's the phone number is Graham Walsh from the MPSL.
Okay.
Okay. So let me, I think.
So at 2:30 today, Cindy Parlow Cone, president of US Soccer, will be joining us and giving us a, speaking to us about US Soccer. So whatever we're doing around 2:30ish, we'll take a quick break and turn it over to Cindy. So Duncan, just let us know when she's on.
Okay. We can show the credentials report, but Peggy, we still need you to press the raise hand button on the one that you are using, because you're on twice right now. Because the raise hand button is at the bottom of the screen. If you click on one of those, if you're actually on the line. No. There, it just went up then. Peggy, please do it one more time. The raise hand function.
Frederick Eckhart raised his hand. Frederick raised his hand. We need Peggy Polly, or we're gonna have to get rid of both.
We just need Peggy to raise her hand. Frederick raised his hand. We got Frederick from Nevada.
Oh, I saw it. Okay. I see it.
Okay, I think we have it now.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it for doubles.
Okay. Right. Yeah, we're good. Everyone, we're good for doubles. So, John, I think you can actually get Nick to display the credentials now.
Okay, Nick, go right ahead.
Okay, we have a total of 202 votes. Half is 101, plus 1 is 102, and 2/3 is 135.
Can I just ask a question? Does those 202 votes include all the officers?
Yes, that's with national and regional officers in the state.
Okay. So, okay, but they're not allowed to vote for the elections, right?
In the election, correct.
So they were not sent a ballot.
Correct.
Okay, that is only for the bylaws and the budget. Okay, got it. Okay, just wanted to confirm. Okay, now that we have our credentials report, what time is it now? 2:15. I can probably give you my State of the Union address while we're waiting for Cindy to come in. So good afternoon, USASA delegates, friends of USASA, and guests. Welcome to the 2020 USASA Annual General Meeting. As the COVID pandemic affected us all during 2020, we postponed our AGM from September to today. I hope you have all stayed healthy and have fared well during this pandemic. I unfortunately did get sick in early January and have recovered fully thanks to God. This virus attacks people in different ways, and luckily, it did not attack me seriously. Some of our friends and family were not so lucky, and we pray for them today. 2020 was an extraordinary year, to say the least. Not only did it affect our lives, but it also had a tremendous effect on our sport. Everyone had declining membership numbers, thus creating financial difficulties for most. Many had to make huge decisions on how they operated. Some closed offices, others laid people off. To say it was a difficult year is an understatement. This year, God willing, will be a building year. Together, more than any other time, we must all work together and think of ways of getting our players, teams, and leagues back onto the field. We need to help them, and it is not a one-size-fits-all. Everyone will have unique situations that must be managed at local levels. Saying this, we at USASA are here for support and are willing to listen and help where we can. This will need to be a team effort, and we need to trust and work with each other. Excuse me. What I will be speaking about next is extremely important, so please pay good attention. Under U.S. soccer bylaws, in order to be considered a national association, you must have at least 200,000 players and must be a member of the adult council. As our registration number fluctuates from year to year, we have always maintained over 200,000 players. Last year, because of the pandemic, we only registered 83,500 players, which is well below the 200,000 requirement. I don't see this as an issue for us now, but if we don't work hard to get our numbers back to 200,000, we could be challenged. We cannot kid ourselves. There are people out there that are looking at this closely. So that is why we must unite as one, work together, and do what is needed to grow our numbers back to 200,000 and more. We are in this together, and this will be my number one priority this year. During the pandemic, I've instructed our governance committee to look at our bylaws and remove from it any items that should be placed in policy. We also contracted a law firm from Chicago to ensure that our bylaws conformed with Illinois law. The governance committee has fulfilled their obligations, and I want to personally thank them for the work they have done. Chairman Paul Scheer, Harold Kayla, Lance Calloway, Larry Hall, Lou Aprigliano, and Tom Moore. This was one of the hottest working groups I have seen in a while. We do have the approval of the bylaws on the agenda today, and I urge all of you to support the bylaw changes that they worked on this year. As everyone is aware of, we canceled all of our events last year. We were going to host the first ever USASA Uefa Championships in Connecticut in May. It was going to be a premier event and one that would have USASA and Uefa working together. This still needs to be a reality, and I will work with US Soccer and Uefa to get this back on the calendar for 2022. The same goes for our women's national team, our women's national amateur cup. We had a group working on this cup last year, and it was placed on pause because of the pandemic. I have instructed Richard Mola to come to the board with a plan for 2021. It has been years since we have crowned a women national team amateur champions, and it's time that we do so. I have also been working with a group led by Amit Goiver that has a proposal to get more Latinos into the game and how to affiliate them. It is called the All In Project, which I sent a proposal to Will Wilson at US Soccer to get US Soccer, USASA, and this group together to get more Latinos involved in our game. Will has committed to look at the proposal after the US Soccer AGM. The one issue that keeps coming up is, what does USA do for the 90% of members that make up USASA, our recreational players? The one thing I will say is that these teams are as local as you can get. We all depend on our state associations and affiliates to see what is needed in your state to grow the game. You all know better than myself or Duncan what your teams or leagues need to grow. We want to know. In order to understand what is needed at the local level, I will appoint a membership task force once again to understand what is needed and how USASA can help. We need to look at some incentives to drive membership, and this task force will get us the information needed. I am committed to this. One of the areas that this would apply to are the current social clubs. There are many players playing at these venues, and we need to find ways to attract them into USASA. Another idea I would like to throw at you is, let's use the power of our game to grow our membership via a healthy choice. I will propose that USASA ask for a grant from the Innovate to Grow Fund from US Soccer to have states test an idea of Healthy Kicks, a program that would have adults come to soccer fields versus going to health clubs and play soccer for healthy reasons. We can sell this as a healthy alternative to joining a health club and a place to make new friends. I will also look at the Center of Disease Control in Atlanta to see if there are grants available from them to keep adults healthy. This is something that any of you can try at your local levels to grow membership, and I would challenge all of you to try to start this program at your local level. My final idea that I would like to see as a reality is a CONCACAF Amateur Championship. As I stated earlier this week, CONCACAF has more countries than they do. They have more countries that do not have professional leagues. The majority of them have amateur leagues. I see this as a great opportunity, not only for USASA, but for CONCACAF also. They would be giving their members an opportunity to compete in a high-level tournament against other countries. It would also give our premier teams and our players that same opportunity. I will be sending a letter to the CONCACAF president soon to see if we can get this initiative off the ground. If I'm reelected today, I promise to hold Zoom calls at least quarterly with all members. Not to tell you what we are doing, but to listen to what your needs are, how we can grow. This is also very important to me. There is lots of work ahead, lots of challenges ahead. There is no one in this room that can do it alone. We need to work together to face all the challenges and grow USASA. Many of you need help. Don't be afraid to ask for it. There are great opportunities for growth in certain areas, certain states, but people don't ask for it. Please ask. Soccer is a team sport. Not one team member can win the game by themselves. They need their teammates. Well, you are all my teammates, and I need you to win this game. I need you to grow this association. I need you to grow this game. We have a great opportunity coming at us with the 2026 World Cup coming to the United States. How can we begin to capitalize on that today? Everyone put on your thinking caps and let's think outside the box and come up with some great ideas. I'm counting on you. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for all you do for our game. I would also like to thank our staff, Duncan, Jen, Pierre, and Nick, for all the work they do, especially for putting this first virtual AGM together. I'm sure it took many hours to get everything together, and we thank you all for your hard work. Finally, I would like to thank your board of directors. This past year, we met monthly to continue our discussions on how to better USASA. They are a great group of committed and dedicated people, and I'm proud to work with such a group. I want you all to know that you can contact me at any time. I have calls that come in at 8 a.m. I have calls that come in at 10 p.m. I have calls during the week. I have calls on weekend. I answer all my calls unless I'm occupied in a meeting. This year has been better than others, where a lot of you have reached out to me. Remember, I cannot fix an issue if I do not know about it. Feel free to contact me. You all, thanks for giving me the last 7 years as your president, and hopefully I'll win another term. The journey is not over. May God bless you all, and thank you.
John, we did miss the confirmation of minutes. I don't know if you want to do that. Cindy is on the line too, so we can get Cindy in to speak now. But we did miss that as.
Okay, so let's do that quick. Okay, you all got the minutes from last year's AGM, 2019's AGM. Does anyone have any corrections or anything they want to add to it?
If you do, use the raise hand feature, and then Jen or Nick will allow you to speak if you have something.
Anyone have their hand up?
One, I think.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
I can't see the screen, so I don't know who it is.
It's Jim Bollinger from East Penn.
Okay, Jim.
Hi, John. Jim Bollinger from East Penn. Just one correction. I noticed under the roll call in the last minutes that my response was listed as Andy Hall for Betsy Ross. Don't ask me why. I believe what I said was I stand for Betsy Ross. So I would just like that corrected for the record.
Okay, we'll fix that.
That was it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, we will make that correction. Does anybody have any other corrections? I will take it that everyone's in favor of the minutes with the correction. Seeing there is no objection, we will, the motion passes to accept the minutes. So next we will have Cindy on. You're on mute. Welcome, Cindy. Welcome to the USASA AGM. Thank you for making some time to address us and hope you have some great news for us.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, yep.
All right. I don't know why my web camera isn't turning on, but we'll move forward. Technical difficulties all the time. Well, thanks, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well and staying healthy. Before I jump into things, I just wanted to say thank you to John and Richard for all their work at the board level. It is very time consuming, as you guys can all imagine. So just wanted to thank them for their work. Real quick, I'll touch on a couple topics and then I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. I know one thing that is top of mind are the bylaws. John, Richard, I don't know if you've been able to communicate yet, but the board bylaw will not be removed. So that will move forward. So those of you that have put in that you're willing to withdraw your bylaw, will reach out to see if you want to put it back in as well, so that it's equal across the board. Obviously with the bylaws, while my preference was to come into compliance as soon as possible, so we can all shift our focus to making our game better and bringing our athletes back to the field. But obviously I understand that there was some misunderstanding and a little bit of confusion for a few things. So I laid out a process to hear from everyone and to give everyone some more time with the thought to come into compliance by the end of the year. But with the bylaws not being withdrawn, so as I laid out in my letter that came out with the book of reports at the National Council meeting, I will move forward with the process that I laid out of tabling the bylaws, all the bylaws that are in reference to the athletes moving to a third. And then post National Council meeting AGM, we'll look to set up the meetings as I laid out in my letter to hear from all the different councils, and then having a special National Council meeting likely in September. And hopefully by that time we can actually meet in person to come into compliance. So that's it on the bylaws. The other thing that is top of mind for us is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Richard and John have heard about this a lot. This has been a key initiative for US Soccer and for me personally. Simply put, if we're going to reach our goals as an organization and as a country, we have to have DEI as a part of our DNA. You'll hear a lot more from me and the staff on this at the National Council meeting as well. So that's it for me. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm willing to answer whatever you may have. And I'll try to turn on my camera. I don't know why that's not turning on.
Cindy, I think it's because we didn't make you a panelist. And if I do that now, we'll lose you. So we'll keep you there. If anyone does have a question for Cindy, use the raised hand function and we'll.
Just so you guys all know, I'm looking great.
The photo you have on the screen is actually a good one.
Oh, perfect. All right, good.
It's a good one.
Well, I'm not looking that great because I'm at the soccer field, so.
Okay, couple of questions. Richard Groff, Shona Schroeder have a couple of questions. So let me mute and then we'll get them to speak. Richard, you should be able to speak now. Richard Groff.
Yes, good afternoon, Cindy.
Hey, Richard.
From you. Will the table of the bylaws take place at the beginning of the council meeting?
It will take place because we have some things that we have to go through and some videos. So it'll take place right before we get to the bylaws. So like, I think there's some videos, I have opening remarks, and then will do some opening remarks, I believe. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but as soon as we broach the topic of bylaws, that is when I will do it.
Okay.
Do you have an issue with that, Richard?
I think we took his speaking rights away.
Oh.
Shona will be up next, Cindy. Shona
Okay.
Schrodel from Oregon.
Okay.
Hi, Cindy. This is Shauna. Mostly, I just want to make a comment. As part of the Disability Committee, I was on the At-Large Council AGM this last week. Gosh, I can't even remember what day it was now, but Cindy also spoke, and I did ask her a question about some of the things they're doing with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And my question was specifically, would their efforts be including athletes with physical impairments? And I just wanted to let you know that she did answer that affirmatively. And one of my reasons for finding that out was because I'm on the disability committee and because we want to continue to grow that population. So as part of the soccer family. So Cindy, I don't know if you have any further comment about that, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just touch base on that. So yes, the disability community is very much a part of the study that we're looking to do. We're doing a nationwide study, and you'll learn more about this at the National Council meeting as well, to find out why minorities aren't choosing soccer, and then doing work to find out how we can remove some of those barriers from these athletes and get them engaged in our sport. And we've put a steering committee together, a small steering committee, and Stuart Sharp is on that steering committee exactly for that reason, because we want to make sure that we're diving into all different minorities. So it's not just based on race and ethnicity. We're looking at all different types of minorities and seeing how we can remove barriers to our game.
Okay, that was Shona. Cindy, we have another question coming up from Francisco Cleves. Francisco is, I think he's the commissioner for the Women's League, the UWS.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, you're live.
Francisco Cleves. No, I guess, Duncan, you're trying to promote me. I'm the Chief Financial Officer and a partner in United Women's Soccer. So, Cindy, John mentioned, we've had an effort, I think the last 2 years, to try to have a open cup, amateur open cup. Is this something that I guess is for both you and John? Are we going to be partnering through with USSF to do this? I mean, I know that a lot of the teams are really interested in making this a go, and obviously with the pandemic we couldn't do it, but just kind of looking for a little bit more support in making that a reality, even in this year, where we're going to have some budget challenges. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, obviously we're looking to get back to full playing on the field. I mean, some of our states, unfortunately, haven't even been able to step on the field. I'm actually at the soccer fields right now in North Carolina. My team plays at 4, so we're full on playing. So I think as we get back to playing, I think the Amateur Open Cup is definitely something that we want to look to do.
And Cindy, I think he's referring more to a women's Open Cup. So we were supposed to bring back our Women's Amateur Cup last year, but because of COVID, it was postponed. Hopefully, we're going to bring back the USASA Women's Amateur Cup. I think the question is, and I know it's been brought up in the past, but what is the vision of U.S. soccer about having a women's U.S. Open Cup like we do the men's? And I know in the past, it was brought up, but the obstacle was the women's professional league was, had a lot of obstacles, and there were a lot of challenges. So nobody felt that they were ready to compete in another competition. But now that they seem to be getting on their own 2 feet, what is your vision about a women's Open Cup under U.S. soccer like the men do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely, not to use quote unquote open, I'm definitely open to it. I think we need to open up those conversations with the NWSL and revisit it. I think this is something that we need to look at moving forward, and what's the right timing on that? I don't have that answer. But I think those conversations need to be had.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Great. Next up is Jim Sadowski from Metro DC, Virginia.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Cindy, how are you?
I'm good.
Glad to hear you're playing. The question for me is like, we want to be prepared for the meeting on perhaps a discussion on the other bylaws and policy changes. So are we going to try to table all that stuff, or are there going to be some left over that we need to be prepared to talk about?
Yeah, so a good question. So I'm only looking to table the bylaws that are around the athletes moving to a third. So I'm not going to table everything. We still have some things that we can vote on that don't have anything to do with the athletes moving to a third. So top of mind, one that comes to mind was the conflicts of interest with the RAC committee, right? I believe At Large has a bylaw they put forward, and there's a couple others that are cleanup things. So anything that isn't about the athletes moving to a third, I will look to table. I mean, I'll look to continue to vote on. I'll table everything that involves athletes moving to a third. Sorry.
All right. Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah.
We have Tim Bush, president of Washington State.
Hey, Tim.
Tim, I think you're on. You need to unmute yourself, I think.
I'm sorry, I have to actually learn to read. Hi, Cindy, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm well. My question dealt with the national meeting that you're proposing in September to deal again with the issue of athletes' representation on the USSF board. Is it your expectation that that meeting we will maintain the voting strength that we utilize at the USSF AGM next week?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would assume so, because we wouldn't have the new numbers by then.
Okay, I think it's something, I saw some heads nod on the panel. I thought that's something I should ask. So thank you for the answer. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll double check on that and make sure John and Richard have that information, but I don't see us having the new numbers by the end of September. So I would assume, and we all know what trouble we get into when we assume, but I would assume that we would stay with the same numbers. But I'll confirm that and get it to make sure Richard and John have that information to get to you guys.
Just to clarify, I think the numbers are in for 2020. The issue becomes, because of the COVID, we decided we weren't going to use those numbers for the AGM next week. And I think Tim's question is, do we still maintain those same numbers because the COVID numbers are so low for any special meeting this year?
Yeah, I thought he was asking if we would use the 2021 numbers. And I was saying that we wouldn't have the 2021 numbers yet. So yes, we would continue to use, I guess, what we're using at this AGM. But I will I'll confirm that and get back to you guys.
Great, thank you. Cindy, we have one more. Paul Scheer, president of Idaho.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Cindy. The only question I had was, will we now have someone that using sign language at our meetings so those that are deaf can know what's going on in our meetings?
I know that we looked into it, and I think we were looking to do that, but I am going to have to follow up on that as well. Hold on, I'm writing that down.
Appreciate that.
Yep. Good point. Thank you.
Great. Cindy, I think that's it. That was the last question.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. I'll let you move on with your meeting. Appreciate it.
Cindy, thanks very much for taking time off of your busy schedule to join us. I'm sure our members appreciate you being here with us. So thanks again.
My pleasure. No problem. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so as we're moving on, we need to since we did the confirmation of minutes and then we did Cindy's, we need to approve the actions of the board from 2020, right? 2019, 2020. So can I have a motion to accept the actions of the board? Motion by Karen Byer, second, please. By
Second.
who second?
I'll second.
Second. Is there any discussion or anyone have any questions?
We have one hand up, Tom Chapman.
Okay. Tom?
Oh, no,
Nope,
No, it's gone. I think it was
was a mistake.
it might have been a question for Cindy.
Oh,
or it could have been him trying to bring a motion. We had a couple hands go up when you asked for a motion.
okay. So nobody has any issues with the actions of the board? Seeing none, they.
Hold on. There is a hand raised, John Mitchell from Indiana.
Okay. John?
Just a question. Can the board approve their own actions? Because the board, it was a motion made, motion seconded by the board. Should it come from the membership? Just a question.
Okay, can we have somebody from the members make the motion, please? John Mitchell, I would assume you want to make that motion.
I do.
Okay, thank you, John. Second?
Well, I've got people with hands raised, and I'm not sure if they're raising their hand a second
Yeah, they probably
or
are.
if they have questions.
No, second, pick one.
Matt Hawkins seconded in the chat.
Who did?
Matt Hawkins from Minnesota.
Hawkins, second. Okay, again, is there any other questions?
All hands have been lowered at this point. Oh, hold on. Andy Marion appears to have a question.
Okay, Andy.
A dumb question. We are approving right now the actions the board took over the past year. Is that correct?
All the actions we took up until this AGM.
Okay, and how are we supposed to know what actions we are approving?
Because the minutes are up on our website.
Okay, so the presumption is that we have looked at all the minutes for each meeting over the past year, and we approve them all, and we're doing them all at once. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any more, Carissa? Okay.
No, that's all.
Anybody object? Anybody object, Carissa? Okay, seeing
There are
there's
no hands raised.
it passes with unanimous consent. Thank you. Okay, next we have reports. I already did my reports.
It's the approval of the budget, John.
Okay, I'm trying to look for it here.
Just while John is getting that,
And
those people who haven't voted yet, please please place your votes if you haven't done so already. That would be helpful.
Okay, so is Bill George? He's chairman of our budget committee. I'll turn the floor over to Bill.
Hey there, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Everyone, this is Bill George from Maryland, Region 1 Treasurer and Chair of the Finance Committee. I've turned off my my Zoom cat filter, but I don't think you all can hear me anyway. But if you haven't, I encourage you to just Google lawyer and cat when you get a free moment. If you want a good laugh, as there was a lawyer who showed up for a hearing on a Zoom hearing and had a cat filter on that he couldn't remove. So quite a good laugh. So that aside, I want to then also thank the budget was circulated earlier along with the proposed bylaws and the minutes. So hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to see those. And then 3, I just want to take this opportunity to let everyone know, if they don't already, they should, how we have a really talented treasurer in Laurie Stoneburner, who is just terrific at what she does. The Finance Committee has works with her, and she puts in a lot of time, a lot of effort. She keeps everyone here informed with regular reports, and it's just a pleasure to work with her. She is a really talented treasurer. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to express that. in terms of the budget, again, hopefully everyone's seen it. Everyone knows it was an unprecedented year in 2020, and the budget for 2021, is out there. Basically, we used a 60% assumption of registrations, but frankly, there's just really a lot of unknowns. How quickly is the vaccinations going to get rolled out? What percentage of registrations are we going to see? In 2020, we had around the ballpark around 35%. So 60% is cautiously optimistic, right? Like we hope in the second half these vaccinations are out and the numbers really start picking up and everyone returns to play. But it's just really a lot of unknowns. So, we were the council to the MBOD, which they've taken here, is to just be very fiscally conservative with this budget. But we are going to revisit it throughout the year, and the finance committee will meet with Laurie quarterly to kind of gauge the numbers. So, so with that, I guess I want to go ahead and put it out there. Is there a motion to pass the budget?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget.
Approve the
It
budget,
looks
yes.
like I've got John Mitchell from Indiana. And Paul Shearer was the second to raise his hand as a second.
Great. Any discussion?
Oh, Diane's got her hand up. I think she might have a question. Diane, I will approve you to talk here. Trying. Oops.
Okay, my question is the budget that we are voting on. I had looked at 3 of them. There were 3 proposed budgets, so maybe I missed something.
Yes, hi Diane. Well, it should be the budget that was circulated in the same communication that came with the bylaws and the minutes. Now,
Okay.
maybe what's been some confusion there that
Nikki's going to
What was
put it on
the-
the screen.
Okay,
Okay,
what was
great.
deliberated at times was really 3 assumptions: a 50% assumption, a 60% assumption, and a 75% assumption in terms of registrations and numbers. But the actual proposed budget is a 60% assumption, and by that meaning 2021 60% of revenue. So maybe that is where you were getting the 3 from, but I'm making
Yeah.
some assumptions there.
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Yep.
We've got a question here from Paul Shearer as well.
So I was just seconding
Oh,
the budget.
thanks, Paul. We got you.
No problem.
Great. And I like that. I have that old picture of there. I have a little bit more hair. So I guess all in favor to pass, to approve the budget? Any opposed? Yes, sorry, go ahead, Krista.
I was just going to say, no one's raising their hand as
I think it
might be
would,
one.
it might be easier, just ask if anyone is opposed to the budget.
Yep,
And
makes sense.
Then,
Anyone
opposed to
opposed?
the-
Looks like we have one opposed with their hand raised.
Yeah, is that Claudella? Does she have a question or is she opposing the budget?
Hold on. Cordella, I give you permission to speak if you have a question. You are muted if you have a question.
I'm sorry, that was an error. I just didn't take it off in time. Sorry.
Francisco wants a question.
unmute yourself, Francisco.
Yes, since I'm the commissioner now of UWS. No, I just again I see the line item for the Amateur Cup is I think 25.5, and then just trying to help Mr. Moeller here. The line item for the U.S. Open Cup is only 10,000. I just don't know how much we can really do with that, but obviously, hopefully, we can bring more players to register. And John, that message is loud and clear. I know that we've grown. We'll be bringing more players to the table, but just a comment on that.
Yep. And I think the goal of all is to grow that Women's Cup, and then we'll be at a position. This is obviously year 1 out, and as we grow that, then more will be allocated in the future.
Thank you.
So I think we're approved.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, so moving on, we have amendments to the charter, bylaws, and policies, and I want to turn the floor over to Carissa.
Hold on just a minute. Jim Sadowski just posted a question in the Q&A. Let me find him and I can let him ask it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the chat box, I just had a question as to whether we were successful at getting any reductions in our insurance premiums, given that we had so few people on the field, meaning, less claims. And I just don't remember how that shook out. And I apologize if that was in the minutes somewhere, which I hadn't reviewed all of them.
So Jim, I can explain that. Reduction is not the right word. If you remember last year, we changed our insurance provider to get a cheaper rate. And actually what we did is, instead of paying it on a monthly basis, we actually paid in advance. So we actually paid for the first 2 quarters of the year. So we paid half a year, and then obviously COVID hit. And they actually refunded. We were 60% down on registrations, so they refunded 60% of the money, but USASA had already fronted that money, if that makes sense. So the state associations hadn't paid us for those for those players. So that came back to us. And then for 2021, they've worked, the actual carrier has now worked with us, the new carrier, and we're going to go back to a per month basis. So we're just going to pay as the player registrations come in now.
All right, thanks so much.
No, thank you.
Okay. Carissa, you've got the floor.
And I'm sorry, I was worrying about Jim's question when you turned it over to me. So I think that you're asking me regarding the bylaw proposal, is that correct? Okay. So as everyone's seen, the governance committee did a lot of work with a law firm to redo our bylaws. The rules committee has reviewed it and do believe that they are appropriate. And so based on that, I would move that we accept those amended bylaws. I have a second from Dan Trainer.
Okay. Discussion.
All right. If you have a question, I will come to you now. Looks like first one is Peter. Oh, hold on. Dan Trainer has a point of order. Let me back up to him first. All right, Dan. You'll need to unmute.
Yep, I see that now. That reading thing, that's a problem. And it's a point of order. I like the bylaws the way they're being presented, but one that I didn't catch when they were first coming up is current bylaw 441, procedures for filling commissioner positions. That is being removed from the proposed bylaws. And if we remove that and these go into effect, we have no way of voting for commissioners. And so a lot depends on when the accepted bylaws, as they get passed, take effect, and then what we're going to do in the future. My proposal would be to leave current bylaw 441 in. You can renumber it wherever you need to, or just leave it as 441. If you're going to move it to policies, go ahead and do that, and then remove bylaw 441 after it's in policies. But we need to have that in there. Otherwise, we have a problem filling commissioner positions.
Okay. Carissa, you have any?
I'll be honest, since I don't have them in front of me, I don't have them memorized. I'm not sure what the appropriate approach is at this point.
Go ahead, Tony. Unmute yourself, Tony.
Yes. 441 really is not applicable to the adult council because 441 is USSA bylaws. The election of the adult commissioner comes under the federation bylaws and is a function of the adult council. We do have separate elections now. There are no formal rules within the adult council other than what's posted in the federation bylaws. But that's where the authority to elect the commissioner comes from, is through that. What we used to have, what we have is 441 was just a method of us to determine how we as USSA would like to elect our members onto the adult council or the adult commissioners, but we haven't followed that for years.
And I agree with Tony. I think the whole process of electing commissioners is definitely stated in the US soccer bylaws. So.
All right, so the next person with their hand up is Peter Panori. Go ahead, Peter. You'll need to unmute. Peter, do you have a question? Oh, there he goes.
Okay, my question is, we are going to be voting whether or not we're going to pass this bylaw changes or not, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I mean, we actually going to vote, right?
Yes, Peter, with a motion was made and seconded. So now we're in discussion.
And
Okay.
as we discussed, Duncan discussed at the beginning of the meeting, we may, if there's concern that it's not unanimous or it's close, we'll use the polling function. Oops, does that answer your question, Peter?
Yes.
All right. Let's see. I've got Andy Marion here.
Okay, Carissa?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
I just want to be sure I'm understanding what we're doing is that we would now, if we approve, we would be passing the entire new set of bylaws to replace the old bylaws. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, there's been, I can't remember which Zoom meeting this was on, but there was some discussion that since part of the new bylaws was taking out some of the old items and putting them into policies. But since we did not yet have a full set of the new policies, that the idea was we would wait until September to do this so that we would have the new bylaws with the new policies so they could really see what the whole package was. And that was especially important since by the nature of changing all of the bylaws at once, it's almost impossible to have a redlined addition to show the changes. Am I correct in my understanding? Or I know there were some people who thought that's what we were going to do, but that apparently is not what we're doing. We're still going to move ahead and approve the whole new bylaws now.
Well,
So
that's the motion that's been made. If someone else makes a different motion, we'll deal with that and we'll see where that goes. I don't know if someone has a motion to table or not. I know that Mr. Falcone in the panelist section has his hand raised. He was the next person. So did you have anything else to add at this point, Andy?
no, just on the rules, if we do table this, would this be after this vote is turned down? If the vote is
No.
turned down? Or
No,
will we move to table it now?
We are in discussion right now on the motion that was made to approve the bylaws.
Andy, this is John. Just to answer your question, and I remember that discussion around, removing the policies, and there is actually a one-pager, I believe, with the bylaws that will be turned into policy. And if these bylaws are passed today, at our next board meeting, the board who has the authority to pass policies would approve all those policies for the policy manual. And then we would distribute them out to all the memberships so they would know which bylaws became policies. So that would be the plan of attack.
Okay.
All right. So then, Tony, I think you were next. Tony Falcone.
Okay, well, in light of what Andy had mentioned, I think, first of all, I want to say the governance committee did a good job putting this together. And I think we have a very good frame to work with. There's still a few items that I think we really need to review, which would be difficult to do in this kind of a setting. And also, we really should have the policies in place. So I think, there's really no rush to get this done today. So I would like to put in a motion to table these bylaws to our next meeting in September, where we'll meet in person, have an opportunity for everyone to make any motions to make changes if possible, and also to present a full set of policies that would accompany these bylaws. This is a 33-page document, and for us to try to pass this in this manner, I think is very difficult, especially since we're going to need 2/3 approval to vote on this. And I think it would be better for us to wait, do a little more work, and have it set for September.
Okay, I'm going to chime in. And, you know, as everybody has stated, the governance committee worked their butts off to get this work done, something we've been trying to get done for many years. Not only did they do the work, we had 4 Zoom calls with every region to look at these bylaws and got input from a lot of state presidents, which the governance committee took back and made those changes. Our board of directors were also provided with these bylaws a few times, and we had discussions around them. And, you know, my recommendation would be to go ahead and pass these bylaws today. Since there is nothing that changes the governance of USASA. So my recommendation would be to not table it until September.
Based on that, however, Tony did make a motion, and there have been a number of people chiming in both the chat and the question that they seconded. The first one I saw was Barb Trainer, but I've also seen seconds from David Bortz. So at this point, we have a motion and a second on tabling them. I guess basically, John, will treat your comments as discussion on that. Is there any other discussion regarding the motion to table? If so, please put in your question or your let me know that in the question and answer, because I can't tell who's got their hand raised for the discussion on the original motion or on the motion to table.
And Carissa, just to let everybody know, in order to pass it to table, they only need 50+1, right?
I believe we just need a majority on the motion to table.
Yep.
So does anybody have any further discussion regarding the motion to table? I'll give you a second to send an answer or chat. All right, looks like Richard Groff has a point. Hold on, it's bouncing around. Point of order, withdraw to another date is greater than 6 months. Hold on, I will let him in to speak because we'll need some additional information. Go ahead, Richard.
As I understand Robert's rules, if you're going to withdraw to a future meeting, this is till next October. That's really not permitted under Robert's rules. You would have to either pick a sooner date or vote to kill or make a motion to kill the bylaw.
Not a parliamentarian, so I don't know that myself.
I don't either, to be honest with you. Tony, would you know if tabling requires before 6 months?
That I'm not sure, but if there's nothing to prevent us, there's nothing to prevent us from tabling this, and then at our next meeting, this be presented again.
And just to clarify, there are a couple of other questions. I'm sorry, I'm juggling this as best I can at this point. The question about would policies be voted on with a need for 51% to pass? It's my understanding that policies would need a majority to pass.
Mm-hmm. You're on mute, Carissa.
Mr. Portico has a comment on this issue.
Hi, can you hear me okay? This is Bodan Peritko from EDP Soccer.
Yep.
Okay. I agree with Tony that for the most part, nice job has been done with these bylaws and they're much cleaner to get through. My one concern is 5.2.3 which gives member leagues only one vote rather than giving us a proportionate number of votes and a number of members we have. I've raised this issue at a couple of previous meetings, and I was told that it would be considered. Now I'm told by John that, so much work has gone in and all the state associations have been contacted. Nobody contacted us at EDP Soccer, and I'd like to know how much people outside of the state associations were really contacted with regard to these type of provisions that affect us directly. My concern is that I think that there will be, as time goes on, an awful lot of changes in the dynamics of how membership comes into the organization, and to keep constantly looking at the state associations as the sole source of membership, because that's in effect what you're doing. You have other ways that members can come in, but every time it comes down to who has a voice, it's the state associations that sometimes they're rather moribund in the way that they handle things. So I'm requesting that 5.2.3 be revisited, and that proportionate voting strength be given as an acknowledgement to member leagues as another source of membership, and that we need to have a legitimate voice in the governance of the association.
Thank you, Boyko. And just to clarify something, when we did hold those Zoom meetings, I believe, and I'll let Duncan answer it, an invitation went out to every member, not just state associations.
Correct, John, correct.
All right, so I'm turning now to Paul Shearer, who indicated he had a question regarding whether this motion is out of order.
Yeah, there was already a motion on the floor to accept the bylaws. And I think we should move forward with that. The other thing I'd like to bring up is that there was no governance changes made in the bylaws. The governance is exactly the same as it was before. So the gentleman that had the query on 5.3, yes, it stays that because that's what was in the previous bylaws. Again, if you want to amend the bylaws in the future, that option is open to you. It's open to anyone. I think the bylaws that are being presented today are very complete. There's really been no changes. The policies can be passed today easily. We sent out that information to the office and even to the board of directors. They could have passed it prior to this meeting, but didn't. It could be passed today. There's really no reason to hold up the vote on this. The work's been done. If someone wants to amend the bylaws in October, you're more than welcome to do so. The option's always been there. Bylaws are a fluid, live body, as well as the organization is. Thank you.
All right, so a couple of comments this is coming from both chat and question and answer, that Jim Hamilton is indicating that the motion to table is in order and takes priority over a motion pending to approve the bylaws. There's a number, I think everybody can see the open questions that I've left open, but it's my understanding that Chaz Balish has some additional insight on the question.
Yes, so there's, Tony, my recommendation is, if you would like to accomplish, I think what you're trying to accomplish, you either refer the matter back to you make a motion to refer the matter back to the board of directors, you move to suspend to a definite time, for example, the next meeting or after a date certain, or you move to suspend indefinitely. Those are the proper motions.
All right.
I guess my question is, what's the concern with the motion to table?
Well, one thing is that Jim Hamilton is indicating that a motion to table is to be reconsidered later in the same meeting, which obviously is not what you intend. Tim Bush is indicating, I think he has some comment on this particular issue. Again, I can't tell what anybody wants when they just raise their hand. So if you have specific information you can share about what topic you're talking about in the question and answer, I can better sort out who should speak when. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you. It seems to me that we keep going around in circles, right? Which is what USSA is really famous for. Someone needs to make a decision whether we're going to vote to table or whether Tony's going to put 2 or 3 or 4 more items on the table. What we did is we put a motion on the floor to table, and then we had tons of discussion. And I would agree with my Gus colleague from the state of Washington, Jim Hamilton, that we should have voted on the issue of tabling. Now, if it needs to be modified in order to meet what Richard Groff had suggested, I think that they're all great creative ideas. But if we choose to table it, then we're not going to debate who gets what piece of the pie on this or whatever else. We're going to table it and we'll come back to it. If we're going to talk about the bylaws, there's a second opportunity for the council to be able to vote up and down on whether or not they want to make those approvals. But we just keep talking around the edges. Are we going to vote? Is there going to be a vote to table, or are we going to take up the bylaw changes?
And in support of Tim, Carissa, a vote to table is non-debatable. We should have taken that vote immediately. But again, it would be till later in the meeting.
And that may very well be true. Unfortunately, I'm not a parliamentarian. I'm doing the best I can with that. But I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tony could certainly amend his motion and you need a new second. Otherwise, I guess somebody needs to tell me what is the appropriate action at this point.
If Chaz would repeat the other motions that would be available.
You can move to refer back to the board of directors. You can move to suspend indefinitely, or you can move to suspend to a time certain.
Okay, then let me withdraw the motion to table and instead make the motion to refer back to the board of directors with the intent that we would review this again in September.
All right, do I have a second for Tony's amended motion? Again, please don't just raise your hand. I can't tell if that's what you're doing when you raise your hand. You'll need to put it in the chat or in the question and answer. All right, David Bortz is seconding. So there's, so that motion is before the body.
Just so everyone knows, that is both debatable and amendable.
So at this point, is there debate on Tony's amended motion to refer back to the board of directors? If 2 people with hand raised, I'm assuming their questions are with regard to that. Dan Trainer is first.
And just to clarify before we get questions, does this also require a simple majority? Yeah, okay, Chaz says yes.
Okay, I had my hand up for a while, and the reason I did is because I went to Rosenberg's and I put it in there, and granted it got scrolled way down, but motion to table is debatable. And so it is there, and it just, Tony would have just had to say motion to table until September, and then we take a vote on that. Seeing how it's amended to motion to refer back, we can go with that one. The end result is the same, but if somebody wants to scroll up, you'll see Rosenberg's simplified rules that I copied and pasted in there. And it basically, it's the same thing as sending it back to committee at this point.
Thanks, Dan. I did see that, but I think we're still under our old bylaws. We're operating under Robert's Rules of Order. And so here we are. All right, Andy Marion is next.
Yes, thank you. First, I'm not a parliamentarian, but I know enough to be dangerous. But I think Richard Groff first is right, is that if you have a motion to table, it has to be taken up within the next quarter or it expires. So basically, if you approve a motion to table today, it's just going to end up off the table, and then the bylaw amendments would have to be brought up again as a new motion in September. But once a motion has been made and seconded, it's on the floor and cannot be withdrawn. So it has to be either voted up or down. Second, as far as taking this off and reconsidering in September, if that's what the body wants to do, I believe the correct motion would be a motion to postpone indefinitely, which is, I think, what Chaz has been saying, but I think the correct Robert's Rules term is to postpone indefinitely. Now, if there's a parliamentarian who knows better about this, I would go back to that. But since we have a motion to table right now, it has to be voted up or down, and then we can consider something else.
Well, at this point, the motion has been amended to refer it back to the NBOD. We have a second. Don't see any other discussion on that. So I think at this point, we need to vote on the amended motion to refer back to the NBOD. This probably is a polling.
Because this is a weighted vote for each. We're going to have to give Nick a couple of minutes. He's going to put this through election runner. So I think it's Tony's motion, right, that we're going to vote on. So Tony, could you either email Nick directly the word in or put it in the question and answer? Nick will, and we'll move on with the meeting, and then we'll just line it up, and then we'll have to launch an election runner for everybody to be able to vote on.
How long does that process take, Duncan, do you approximately?
It's going to. Yeah, it'll once he launches it, it launches straight away. But it's going to take 5 or 10 minutes for people to see it in their email boxes and start to actually vote. So we could.
We really can't go on to another piece until we get this resolved, right?
Well, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to actually vote. So we could actually move on, couldn't we? And come back to that because it's been.
Just a question. If this is a simple majority to refer back to the MBOD, can we do that on a poll? That's not weighted, is it?
No, but
yeah, it would because
it would be,
each state has multiple
each
votes.
state is multiple votes, yeah, because we've some states on here have got one person, but they've got 4 votes. So we have to do it that way to make it fair. There's some states who've got 4 people on the call because they've given 1 vote to each one of their people, so it would skew the actual result. Tony, sorry, I just asked Tony. Did you send the language to Nick?
You're on mute, Tony.
I'm typing right now. Basically, it's a motion to redirect to the board of directors the proposed bylaws. Anything else, Chaz, since you've, sounds good?
So, well, Tony's doing that. Scott Hendren for Arkansas has asked in the question and answer, I'd like somebody to clearly articulate the reason for referring back to the NDOD. I think Tony's concern was that there needs to be some amendments, which is very challenging to do in this forum. Several people have also raised in the question and answer concerns about not having the policies in place ready to go at the same time as the new bylaws, since some of the old bylaws would be completely removed and would be treated more like policies in the future. And then finally, I'm seeing in the question and answer that a number of members didn't feel they had the opportunity to weigh in or participate in the discussions that went on with regard to the changes to those bylaws. So hopefully that answers your question, Scott.
Okay. Nick he's going to send out the election runner right now. So for those online listening in, look for the election runner like you did with the election this morning. That's going to come through now. Just vote and then we'll collate the votes.
Just while you're doing that as well, Amber Guerrero from Oregon had asked, was this already something that had been given support by the NBOD? And I think that yes, the NBOD had supported the revised bylaws prior to this.
The vote is out there live. The board, you get to vote on this too.
I didn't get anything yet. I don't know if anybody else got it. Okay. My glasses.
Point of order.
Go ahead, Tony.
I received it. So the options are yes and no. And yes would be to approve the motion to redirect, and
Yeah.
no would be against.
Yes,
Correct?
that is correct.
Folks with your hands raised in the I'm sorry, with your hands raised, can you give me a little more information in the Q&A regarding the issue you want to address? Oh. Marty's from MDCVA, should I be receiving multiple emails based on my number of votes? I only received one. Duncan, can you address that? You're on mute.
They might come in separate emails. Let me, Nick is just looking at that. I think because there's so many people in the actual email list, it might come in waves.
Marty, did that answer your question? If so, you can lower your hand.
Because Janet got hers, it came in separate emails.
Great, thanks, Marty. There's a question in the chat. If we vote no, that it goes back to vote up or down on the bylaws. Yes, Janet, that is correct.
a good question from Matt Hawkins, by the way.
I see the question from Tom Chapman. Tom, it's because you're holding all the votes, so you have to click on each one of those. Each email is one vote per email, Tom. Question. I think Michael Hill may have the same question. You get one email per vote. So if you're the delegate holding all the votes for your state, you'll get that amount of emails. So if you have 2 votes, 3 votes, you'll get 2 emails or 3 emails or 4 emails. We will have the updated results at 2:35 because election runner updates in 5-minute increments. So we got 3 minutes.
Duncan, Tom Chapman is still indicating he got some, but not all emails for this issue. One thing I think someone mentioned is you might have to log out of election runner and then go back to the email. I know Peter Panori said he had to go to his phone rather than from his computer. Yeah, Paul Shearer indicated that he found that if he left and came back, he got all the votes showing.
Just if people haven't received any emails, just check your spam or your promotions folder too, particularly those that are using Gmail. Some votes got resent to Claudella and to Tom Chapman. So now we have to wait to 2:40, so 4 minutes. If someone knows any songs they want to sing to entertain us for the next couple of minutes, they're more than welcome. Andy Marion can actually sing because he caused the trouble. So let Andy Marion sing for us and entertain us.
I was going to recommend that Andy Marion too. So.
And now the end is near.
If it is, I hope it is. I mean, seems like we're here too long.
Keep going, Claudio.
That wasn't bad.
That was good.
He only knows those words.
He caused the trouble, so let Andy Marion sing for us and entertain us.
I recommend that Andy Marion too. So.
Who's got their YouTube video volume up?
Give credit to Matt Hawkins for that idea.
Looks like Jim Bollinger has a question or a comment.
Since we're waiting for entertainment, Carissa, I was wondering if the president and the vice president would stand up and do a jig so we can see which of them is wearing pants and which isn't.
That is an excellent suggestion.
It's 82 degrees in Miami, Jim. Sorry.
Thanks, Richard.
John, you need to mute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good thing I wasn't saying anything bad about anyone, right? Well.
Yeah, Nick's gonna put it up right now. It's 2:40. It's come through. So it's yes, which I believe goes back to the board of directors, correct?
That is correct. Okay.
So yeah, it goes back to the board of directors.
All right, so we move on. Election results is next.
Yep, I'll take over for that, John. Obviously, the election's been open since 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. This is going to be very, very simple. Nick will just display the results on the screen as a percent. You'll see that exactly the same as that. It comes directly from election runner as a percentage. The first one we need to look at is the at-large director position. Obviously, Caesar ran unopposed, so he's actually re-elected by acclamation because he ran unopposed. Congratulations, Caesar. The next one will be for the secretary position. It was a contested election between Karen and Paul. So I think we're ready to go, are we, Nick? Yep. So Nick's going to display that result online now on the screen. Karen, you remain re-elected, and so you remain the secretary of USSF. Congratulations. Okay. And now I think this is the election and the result that everybody's been looking for. For the president, 3 candidates, John Motta, Richard Moeller, and Nick Webster. Again, we'll ask Nick to put up the results on screen. 59% to John, 24 to Richard, and 17 to Nick. So John, congratulations. You too are re-elected as president of USASA. John, we have there some, I presume that you'd want to say something.
Well, I mean, I've said a lot already, but I just want to thank everyone for their confidence in re-electing me for another 18 months. And I know I said a lot in my opening State of the Union address, and I'm going to work my butt off to make sure that everything I talked about gets done this year. And, and again, I challenge every one of you to also work hard and, bring your recommendations and your ideas back to me and to the board because, I said it once, I'll say it again, we're a team. And a team needs all the players to participate, not just one. So with that, we'll go on with the meeting. Thanks once again to everyone. And also, I want to also say before I go out, thanks to Richard and Nick Webster for, putting their names in the hat. And elections are always tough. And, and it's hard to lose. I've lost elections in the past. I lost one last year to Cindy, and I know how it feels. So, I know Richard and I have worked well together in the past. Hopefully we will continue to work in the future. And because, it's more important than just me, Richard, or Nick. It's about the game. And we all got to work together to, get the game to where it needs to be, get our numbers back to where we need to get them. And, I'm counting on every one of you to join in and, join the fight, and let's get there by the end of the year. So again, once again, thank you. Okay, next we got new business, and I don't think we have anything for new business here, unless somebody has they want to bring something. Seeing none, we're going to adjourn.
Hold on. Peter Panori has his hand up.
Okay, go ahead. Peter.
John, I don't know if I'm out of order, but if I am, you let me know. I just want to say, I don't know if this is the proper time to say this. Well, everybody's online, all USASA. Just to remember, as I said on the Region 1 meeting, and many of you already heard this speech a few times, this is the time for all of us, no matter who you like, who you don't like, to stay united as one and follow our leadership against USSF. Don't let those kind words from certain individuals sway you any different ways. We have to stay together strong. I want to again thank publicly John, Chaz, I forget all the people now, damn it, Tom Moore, and who's the guy from Indiana? I forget. The
Dave.
Guys that did, go ahead, John, what?
David and Duncan also.
Dave, right, and Duncan, all these guys that put a lot of work into it, and all of you that are on this call, all of you know what work is, because each and every one of you do a lot of work, and we all do it mostly for no money. So I appreciate all the work they put together, and John was able to get the youth to come together with us. I guess we're still going to have that call next week. I hope all of us stay on that call. And again, we have to stay united. Let's forget about the little crap that we all don't like one or the other for whatever reason there might be. This is something very important to us as USASA. So please make sure we stay united and we vote against those rules that USSF wants to pass, because I still don't trust her. Okay.
Thank you, Peter. And we'll talk a little bit more about it in the adult council meeting, which is more appropriate to talk about U.S. soccer issues than here. So we'll touch on it when we get into the next meeting. Anybody else for new business? Seeing none, before we adjourn, we're going to adjourn, and we're going to give everybody about a 10 to 15 minute break. We need to reshuffle the voting strength, and it is now. So let's come back at 4 o'clock to open up the adult council meeting. Okay, motion to adjourn. Okay, Karen. Okay, we're adjourned. You guys at 4. Thank you. 4 o'clock Eastern. Anyways.
Guys, we're going to keep Carissa on because she's going to keep just monitoring any question and answers stuff too.
Was there an agenda sent out for this portion of the meeting?
I'm not sure. Nick's going to put it up on the screen now.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just hadn't seen anything.
Nick's going to put it up on the screen now, and then when John starts at 4 o'clock, then we'll take it down.
Okay.
Hey, Duncan. Liverpool lost to Everton in the derby 2-0.
Oh, they did 2-0 in the end.
Yeah, a penalty at the end.
Make sure you're all on mute. Somebody's not on mute.
Hey, John. Mata?
Yes, sir.
I just was going to mention the reason I asked Cindy that question about voting strength
Yes.
was that the constituent polling that they sent out to all the members limited the 2019 counting for 2021 only to the AGM.
For this AGM, for the AGM next week, I agree. I saw that.
Yeah, that's the reason I asked the question. So
Yeah.
something that I think we need to make sure we stay on top of. Not that,
You'll hear about it Monday on our call.
okay, yes. We have to follow the Ronald Reagan trust but verify, right?
Guys, just to remind everybody, this is still recording and it's still live.
It's still live. Oops.
Okay, okay. I take the admonition. Thank you, sir.
If you continue talking, I'll post that picture of you from the other day.
Wasn't that great?
Before you ask, John, yes, that is rum and coke.
I wouldn't even have to ask. You're not in Florida, are you, Bill?
Oh yeah, I'm sitting out on my lanai watching 80 degrees here.
Good for you.
Me and Ted Cruz.
Okay, we got about 1 more minute and we'll get started. Okay, it is now 4 o'clock, so I will call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the 2021 U.S. Soccer Adult Council meeting. First on the agenda is the credentials report, and we need to redo it a little bit, right, Duncan?
We have the total. Nick, can you share it, Nick?
Can you share it, Nick, please? Oh,
there you go. No, that's fine.
Okay, everybody got that. Okay, so I didn't print the agenda. So next on the agenda is
your opening statement, John.
Okay, all right. So I'll go get that and I'll keep it short and sweet since I had one last time. So good afternoon once again, and welcome to the 2021 U.S. Soccer Adult Council meeting. Unlike the USASA annual general meeting that was rescheduled from 2020, this meeting is on schedule and was scheduled for today. There are a few items to take care of, but before we do that, I would like to make a few comments. Okay. First, I am happy to report that Cindy Cohn has reached out to myself and Richard Mola to have an adult task force formed and to work with U.S. Soccer. When I brought this idea up to our commissioners like a few weeks ago, they all agreed that after the U.S. Soccer AGM next week, Cindy has agreed to have a meeting with us 8 commissioners to talk about the strategy and the goals of this adult task force. Stay tuned for more information, but this is a step in the right direction. Today, Richard Groff will be making a presentation to you asking that the Adult Council support the U.S. Soccer Foundation for a yearly grant of $100,000 dedicated to adult soccer programs. I will not get into the details. I will let Richard Groff talk more about this in a little bit, but this is something that we should agree to get behind. As you are all aware of, I have been working with a few different teams of people to discuss the U.S. Soccer bylaw proposals. Most of you attended the Zoom calls we had earlier on, to let you know what was happening and the reasons why we are taking these positions. I want to make something perfectly clear here today. In no way are we taking these positions because we are challenging the Athletes Council or their right for a 33% presence. We are not taking these actions or these positions because we are trying to take voting power away from the professional council. These are rumors that have been circulating out there, and I want to put an end to them today. This is not us versus them. All we want is to ensure that U.S. soccer bylaws follow the Ted Stevens Act, which is a federal law. We also believe that trying to have this debate on a Zoom call next week is not the proper way to make these substantial changes in the governance of U.S. soccer. All we are asking for is for the members to have input, get outside legal advice, and let's all work together and get to a place we can all agree on to move our sport forward. We are willing to work with all the other councils, and we are looking forward for U.S. soccer to make this happen. Next Tuesday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be presenting a Zoom meeting for all adult, youth, and at-large members. This Zoom meeting will detail where everyone should stand on the bylaws, have they been withdrawn, and what steps should we all take during the U.S. Soccer AGM next week. This is a critical Zoom call, and I urge everyone to take the time to get on that Zoom on Tuesday evening. I now would like to take this time to thank the other 7 adult commissioners. We do meet quarterly and have sent some ideas to U.S. Soccer. These 7 commissioners and myself work tirelessly on your behalf, and they have been kept on the loop about what has been happening with the U.S. Soccer Bylaws Task Force. I do enjoy working with this group of dedicated and passionate people. I want to thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure serving you. So with that, we'll continue with the meeting. And I think next on the agenda is recommendations to the board of directors, I think, of U.S. Soccer.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I know the commissioners, we talk amongst ourselves about, things that we like to bring up to U.S. Soccer. I think this new task force that Cindy has proposed will give us more opportunities to bring our ideas to U.S. Soccer. And again, the 8 commissioners will be heavily involved with that, and we may even expand it to other subgroups. So stay tuned, and if we need extra people, or we want to put some smaller task force together, we will get in touch with you. I don't know if anyone has anything they would like to recommend we take to the board of directors. You see anything, Carissa? No?
No, I see no questions, comments, or hands raised.
Okay, so then we'll move on. What next on the agenda? I didn't print it.
It's the election of the commissioners.
Okay,
so again, that was done via election runner over the last 24 hours. So Nick, have you got the results ready to go? Yeah, Nick's going to throw those up on the screen now. Just take that. Whoop.
Oh, go back. It's too fast.
Too fast, Nick. So Shona, John, Richard, and Tim, you remain on the as 4 of the 8 commissioners. So you've all been re-elected.
All right. Again, I would like to thank everyone for your vote. Like I said, thank you, Chaz, for putting your name out there to try to join us. I'm sure there'll be other opportunities, but like I stated that the commissioners that we have had have been working very well on your behalf, and I'm looking forward to working with them in the next couple of years. So congratulations, everyone. Next, new business.
No, we have to, Richard is running for re-election to the Board of Directors of US Soccer.
Okay, so we do have the position open for the second board member of US Soccer, which is currently being held by Richard Moeller. Is there any other nominations from the floor? None, Carissa? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the nominations and declare Richard Moeller our representative on the Board of Directors of US Soccer by acclamation. Congratulations, Richard. Okay. New business.
And now new business. We have.
Hold on, I do see Peggy Polly has her hand raised. I'm not sure what her a letter in. Peggy?
Do you have a question, Peggy?
Never mind. She looks like she raised her hand.
Okay.
New business. We have two things on new business, John. We have Richard and Tony's, and then Tony's resolution. So, do you want Richard to talk first?
We'll go with Richard first. Okay, Richard. Richard Groff, you have the floor.
Let's see. Have you got?
Is Richard on? There he is.
Good evening.
Hi, Richard.
So it was 3 years ago that this organization elected me to serve on the U.S. Soccer Foundation Board of Directors. I was very excited about that, and I went forward with, I had three objectives. I wanted the foundation to actually form a partnership with U.S. adult soccer and help it to identify the grassroots needs and to fund that. The second was I wanted to have one grant go to an adult soccer association, a member of U.S. adult soccer, some grant that was specifically helping adult amateur soccer. And third was for the foundation to develop a donor base that was more involved with amateur adult soccer. And it appears that I failed in all three. There is no partnership. We had numerous votes to try to fund a grant to an adult soccer association, a state association or organization, and each time the vote failed. And finally, the chair of the foundation said to me, "We don't have donors who want to fund adult soccer." They changed their mission statement, and initially they stated, "We only want to work with children and kids." Fortunately, Cindy Parlow Cohn was on the call, and she says, "No, that's not what U.S. Soccer is about." And they did add adults back into their mission statement. But the 3 years impressed upon me that we have to take a very proactive role in this to develop our amateur sport. So what I wanted to do was present a resolution or a motion. Duncan, were you able to get that up to show everyone, or?
No, Richard, we don't actually.
Okay, then I'll just read it. And it goes, the U.S. Soccer Adult Council, that's all of you, requests that the U.S. Soccer Foundation develop a 5-year grant program that invests $100,000 a year in the development and support of adult amateur soccer leagues in the United States. We, as an organization, our member leagues, our state associations have been impacted by COVID-19, and the foundation has $50 million in the bank. And I understand their mission is to build small rinks for kids to play in, also to have educational programs for children built around soccer, but at the least, they should have a $100,000 a year program that is going to support amateur adult soccer and the U.S. Adult Soccer Association. And I'd like John, if possible, to have the council approve that.
Okay, so thank you, Richard, for that. And many of you have been around since the foundation was created after the 1994 World Cup. It was actually created to give funds to all U.S. soccer members. And as the years have gone by and new leadership has taken place, their philosophies have changed to the point where we are today, where they basically are just funding small fields in inner cities. As Richard had stated, I mean, adult soccer is not even on their radar, and they really, seem not to care. As Richard had made 3 proposals and they were all denied. I support what Richard is saying. And, I would like to put it in a motion that we support what Richard's resolution is, and we present it to the U.S. Soccer Foundation in a formal letter. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Rob.
Okay, Rob, second. Any other discussion?
Yes, start with Kevin Payne from US Club.
Yeah, John, I just want to speak to this. And Richard's my friend of many, many years. Some of you know that I'm the vice chairman of the foundation. I didn't intend to be speaking about this on this call. I think probably would have been more appropriate to invite somebody officially from the foundation. But I don't think the picture that's been painted is accurate. The decision to change the focus of the foundation was made 12 or 13 years ago in a meeting that included a substantial number of the leadership of U.S. Soccer. And the decision then was that the foundation, instead of dissipating its efforts in a lot of different directions, reacting to grant requests, would instead become more focused, fully focused on trying to introduce the game to audiences which had generally been left out of the game. In particular, audiences in underserved communities. So much of that is urban, but it's not exclusively urban. And over time, what has evolved is that focus has been on 2 broad areas, one related to programming, one related to facilities. The facilities, the mission of the foundation at this point is to build 1,000 small-sided fields in urban and other underserved areas by 2026. Those of you who pay attention to what happens in other countries might know that that was one of the missions of the DFB in the reboot that they undertook. Their goal was to try to make sure that the game was being introduced to those in those underserved communities, since that's often where the best and most successful professional athletes come from. In support of that, it was very apparent that there was money available from a variety of sources to support programs that facilitated the spread of soccer, but also, in effect, used soccer as a hook to get kids involved in ways that kept them off the street, taught them proper values, and assisted in their development over time. That's what the foundation has been focused on. There is still a grant program for certain field type activities. It's not the scale that it was previously. But this was not something that was done recently. There was no blatant attempt to ignore adults. Our programming grants are focused on the main program that we're involved with, which is called Soccer for Success. The foundation can't be all things to all people. It's that simple. We don't have an endless amount of money. And the rate we were going, we were going to have no money, and we weren't going to have a lot to show for it. Now we have, we're approaching 200,000 players who are playing the game for the first time in communities that never have had soccer. We have over 300 small-sided fields built, and we have commitments for more than 500. It's been a very successful program, and it's one that has garnered the support of a number of very large funders, the U.S. government, various elements of the U.S. government, in Republican and Democratic administrations. The Target Foundation, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, et cetera. So this is a very complex question. I think that if the Adult Council wants to have a real conversation about how to influence and get more adults involved in a game, particularly from underserved communities, it should have that. This is going to be perceived as just a handout, asking for money. And so I think you should, instead of just knee-jerking this, I think you should try to have a conversation with the foundation and see what common ground there might be.
Okay, Kevin, thanks very much for your insight. And actually, as a board member of the foundation, that is very helpful. So thanks for that. Now, I got a question, though, for you, Kevin. So as you stated that you guys, and I understand what you guys are doing is, doing the small fields and underserved communities, which I applaud. I mean, I think it's a great gesture and what you guys are doing. But while you're doing that, are these fields specifically and exclusively for youth usage, or are adults allowed to also use these fields? Kevin, you're on mute, Kevin.
I had unmuted it, but it didn't unmute. No, the fields are available for anyone. We don't own the fields. We build the fields in conjunction with neighborhood groups.
Okay.
So those might be boys and girls clubs. In New York City, we've built 50 fields in conjunction with the New York City Parks and Rec Department. So there's multiple different partners everywhere. The idea, we want the fields to be used as much as possible. Any of you who've ever been to places like Brazil or Argentina have seen these small-sided courts that are much the same as basketball courts have been traditionally in urban communities in the United States. And there's games on them all the time. And they're kids, they're adults, it makes the game ubiquitous. It acts as a evangelizing force, and it will grow the game, and it will help us attract talent from a pool of talent that has not ever been a part of U.S. soccer. So there's a big development element of this, and there's also a social cause, which frankly has the benefit of not only is it the right thing to do, but it's also appealing to funders. So, John, it's completely inappropriate to suggest that we build these fields and then tell adult groups that they can't use them.
Okay, that's fair. Anybody have any other questions for Kevin or for Richard?
There are some other questions. Paul Shearer was next.
I was just going to second or make the motion for Richard.
Okay. All right. We've got Bill George next.
Hey, hello, everyone. Yeah, I just guess the comment I think very highly of Richard, of course, of all he's contributed to the game and what he's advocated at the foundation. And I think Kevin very eloquently put the foundation's perspective. And I just would encourage us to be thoughtful about it, because I think there probably is common ground, right? I mean, think of all the underserved communities in the adult game, whether it's refugees, groups that have not been affiliated, from Hispanic leagues to Caribbean and African leagues. So I think if we're thoughtful about this, we could probably approach them with something that they'd be receptive to, as opposed to just, you know, using Kevin's word, the knee-jerk type of handout. So I would just encourage us to really put together a thoughtful package and thoughtful ask that really would get their attention as funders and would really help serve us in terms of broadening and growing the game within USASA. Thanks.
Just in the question and answer, Michael Hill from Penn West just asked, Kevin suggested a conversation with the foundation. How is that different from what Richard Groff has been doing? And then finally, Richard did have his hand raised.
I need to unmute.
You are unmuted.
Okay, great. First of all, it's great to have Kevin give the perspective that he did. They do admirable work, okay, and there's no question. We are both very close friends and have been for 30 years. And in fact, Kevin will admit that we had this exact same discussion less than 30 days ago. And quite honestly, now that we have both of us here in the public forum, what I'm really saying is I believe there are donors who will give on behalf of adult soccer. And I would make the same promise that I made to Kevin. If the foundation commits this $100,000, then I am committing to help raise an additional $100,000 that can be used in such a program. This is a partnership. I was disappointed that the partnership was never developed in the 3 years. I was disappointed when the chair, and I think it may be different when Kevin becomes the chair, was not sympathetic to adult soccer. But Kevin, now's the time publicly, let's make this commitment and put $200,000 a year to helping grow adult amateur soccer, even in urban communities or on tribal ground, wherever it is.
Turning back to Kevin, he did ask to respond.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm on here representing a group that is the second largest registrant of adult players, not on here representing the U.S. Soccer Foundation. And so I certainly cannot speak to Richard's proposal on behalf of the foundation. I'm trying to provide context because I think it would be very counterproductive for the adult council to pass some sort of resolution and dump it on the foundation's desk. I think there is possibly a good opportunity to open a conversation. Ed Foster Simeon and the foundation board, including its chairman, Cully Stimson, are really open-minded people. It's an outstanding board with people of, you know, tremendous achievement levels in multiple areas of business, but they all have a love of soccer. So I think it should be a conversation. I do think that, let me say this, I'm not sure that it would necessarily be looked at as something that would be done specifically with the Adult Council of the United States Soccer Federation. Perhaps it would, perhaps the foundation would be open to that kind of bargain, if you will. I think it's more likely that the foundation would say, yeah, let's find a way to work together to develop funding sources that are tied or aimed specifically at adult soccer. And I'm willing to be part of that conversation. I was a registered player myself in the Adult Soccer Association. I'm a member of your Hall of Fame. It's not like I'm not sympathetic to adult soccer. So, I'd be more than happy to help broker that conversation. And I think that there's a chance it could have the result that you want.
Okay, so thank you, Kevin and Richard. So Richard, hearing what I'm hearing, I mean, I would like to withdraw my motion and have a couple of us, myself, maybe you, Richard, and a couple of other people from the commissioners, sit down with you and Ed and maybe the chairman and start that dialogue. I mean, I know Ed very well. I have a very good relationship with Ed. I don't know who your chairman is of the board right now, but I'm definitely glad to meet him and have a discussion with him. So Richard, if you are okay, I would like to withdraw the motion and start a dialogue with them because in all fairness, we have not had the dialogue. You did as our representative, which, you stated it didn't go very far, but maybe if we have another approach and we bring the adult council commissioners in, maybe they'll be more applicable to listen to us. So are you okay with that, Richard?
But John, don't you want to get a sense of where the council is rather than just you and I making a decision?
Okay. I mean, we don't have to make it a resolution. How else would we? I mean, I don't want to make it something that's binding. I mean, I would like just to see the direction of the council, which I agree with. So would it be how would we put it? It wouldn't be an emotion because that's binding. So
no, it's a basic request. I mean, we have accomplished more on this discussion publicly than we have in quite some time.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we get a small group of commissioners and Richard Groff to meet with the U.S. Soccer Foundation and to have a discussion around funding for for adult soccer in the United States. So that would be my motion.
Before we do that, I think Chaz Balish has indicated he has a point of order.
Okay.
There's already a motion that's been seconded on the floor. You can't make another motion to completely usurp that primary motion.
I withdrew the motion.
You can't withdraw someone else's motion.
It was my motion.
Oh, it was? Okay, then you have to do it by unanimous consent.
Yeah, so I withdrew the original one and I'm going with
withdraw a motion, you have to do so by unanimous consent.
what's that? Withdraw it?
Ask everyone else if it's okay.
Is it okay if I withdraw the motion? Okay. Seeing that, it's
Hold
okay.
on, and looks like Kevin has raised his hand again as well.
Okay. Kevin, you're muted. Kevin Payne, okay.
Sorry, I lowered my hand, or I tried to.
All right, then
So,
I will,
so the motion is.
I'll send you back, Kevin.
So my motion is that the adult council authorizes a small group of commissioners and Richard Groff to go back and speak to the U.S. Soccer Foundation about funding for adult soccer.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? Okay, so it passes unanimously. So Kevin, be on the lookout for some communication from us in the very near future, probably the next month or so. And thank you, everyone. And thank you, Richard, and for your passion around this. We know how passionate you are, and we definitely appreciate that. And thank you, Kevin, for your perspective, giving us your perspective on the U.S. Soccer Foundation. I think it was very helpful. So great discussion. Thank you. Okay, next we have on new business is a
we have Tony.
Tony Falcone, I'll give you the floor.
Sure.
Nick's going to share Nick's going to put the resolution up on the screen for everyone too, so they can see it.
Okay, good.
There you go.
You may need to enlarge it a little bit. So I'm here on behalf of the Credentials Committee for U.S. Soccer. There were a couple requests from individuals who wanted to vote as members as USASA delegates. We have had in the past allowed our member associations and leagues also have delegate votes at the among the U.S. Adult Council, even though I don't believe the U.S. Federation bylaws actually provide for that. What this resolution will do is follows our USASA bylaws, which allows us to provide delegates to the Adult Council on behalf of USASA, which would include officers, directors, past presidents, national affiliates, associations, and leagues to be among voting delegates just within the Adult Council. Is there a request for me to read the resolution, or can people see it?
I think people can see it. Now, the one thing I do want to emphasize with this resolution, that nowhere in this resolution does it state that USASA will fund them to go to the AGM of US Soccer. This is just to allow them to vote. So if there is funding that would be needed, it would have to go through the budget process. Yeah, but this resolution in no way gives any of the people designated here, a budget to go to the AGM.
That's correct.
Yes.
Don, Bill has his hand raised. Bill, did you have a comment or a question?
Bill,
if you don't, I can lower your hand.
Okay.
If this resolution passes, I believe the Federation office will be available Monday for any delegates that may want to change to be a USASA delegate or are not already, like I believe Karen Byer may not be a voting delegate. This will allow her to vote as a member of USASA.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kevin Payne has his hand raised. I'll let him in.
John or Tony, I'm not sure I understand the point of this, and I suspect I'm not alone. Can you explain how this would change what currently happens? And does this affect voting at the National Council meeting?
Yes, I'll explain. Technically, the Adult Council only has one national association, and that is USASA. But within USASA, we have other members, which include the state associations, which include national affiliates, such as AYSO, US Club Soccer, and also includes our national and multi-state leagues. And this will provide all those members that are not already designated under the Federation bylaws and state associations to have a vote within the Adult Council. It also allow us to include our officers as voting delegates, including our past presidents as stated in the USASA bylaws. The change will be just within the Adult Council. So there won't be any extra votes outside of the Adult Council. The Adult Council still will have the 27, 28% votes at the National Council. What it'll do, it'll just slightly change the weight of each individual's vote.
Well, and how will that, I'm not sure if I'm still unmuted, but
yeah,
exactly how will it change the weight? The time something got sprung at one of these meetings, it was basically taking our vote away. So pardon me if I'm a little suspicious of
Right.
the outcome.
So right now, each delegate for the adult council, the weight, I believe, is around 1.6 some number. This may add an additional 2, 3, 10 people as delegates. And it will probably slightly change that 1.6, instead of 1.64, maybe 1.61 or 1.59. But it's still within the adult council. Right now, as we're set up, state associations and the national affiliates are given votes depending upon the number of players registered. And then each national and multi-state league gets one vote, one delegate vote.
Well, I have to say, Tony and John, that I'm really uncomfortable with this, with it being treated as a resolution, but B, without any numerical illustrations, without any real explanation of what the intent of this is, but particularly without an explanation of what the effect of it will be, we would ask people to not pass this at this time. There's plenty of time before next year's AGM, and if this has merits, we can discuss it before then.
All right, Richard Groff is also asked to be recognized. Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you. Maybe I can give some more clarity to this for Kevin. Kevin, currently, under a resolution passed years ago, past presidents of U.S. adult soccer do not have a vote in what I call the adult council division of the National Council meeting. Currently, there's about 202 votes in there, including the number of votes that U.S. Club has. And I don't know the exact percentage of votes that U.S. Club has of the 202, but there was a group of us who went to the Credentials Committee and made a request of why the past presidents, and there's 3 of us, could not vote in the adult division of the National Council. It was also pointed out that some board members of U.S. adult soccer could not vote. Credentials Committee responded by saying, you certainly can vote, just need to tell us that these delegates have the right to vote. And that's what this resolution does. The impact on your personal votes for U.S. Club is almost de minimis because it will probably go from 202 to 212. Now, I would need a calculator to figure out how many votes that would impact. Maybe, how many votes does U.S. Club have in the adult division of the National Council? Is it 6?
Oh, I think it might be 5.
5. So you are now 5 of 202. You'll probably be 5 of 212.
Yeah, it's not going to change much.
Yeah, so I mean, the difference between 202 and 212 is 5%. That's a fairly significant dilution.
I suggest you get another calculator.
Only about 2% for Kevin, 2.5.
It's 10 votes over 200 votes. That's 5%.
No.
No, 10% of 200 would be 20.
And you only have 5.
Oh, yes, you're right. You're right. I'm not sure what the point of this is. Why are these votes intended to be accretive? There is some dilutive effect if you do this. And it's at the expense of, it's not at the expense of USASA. It's at the expense of everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, there will be, but as
I think that this is an odd way to handle this. You know, you're probably right that the impact is not profound, but I just think this is a strange way of, I mean, I wasn't aware that this was coming up. Nobody shared with us in advance that this was going to be proposed and included the mathematical formulas to show us what the effect would be. I just don't understand why this is being handled in this way.
One thing, Kevin, to understand is technically the only parties that, or only delegates that should have votes in the adult council are the state associations and USASA, which is one vote. Because USASA is just is the sole member of the adult council besides the state associations. We have historically allowed our other organizational members outside of state associations to also have voting delegates, and this resolution would provide for that. And it also provides, in addition, our officers and past presidents. And the other problem is there's no bylaws or any set of rules for the adult council, so that's why it's being handled as a resolution.
All right. Looks like Fritz has indicated that he has done some of the math and can share some of the numbers in more detail with us. Fritz, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, so just if anybody's curious about the numbers and what I did, I worked them out roughly. If right now every voter has 1.6 votes internally at 200, I just used 202 as the number because I think that's what we had at USASA. If you change, if it's 1.6 now and you change it to 212, it goes down to 1.52. So that's the difference. It was from 1.6 votes to 1.52 votes internally to the adult council.
Michael Hill, Penn West indicates, do we end up with the same vote count out of the larger pool, therefore diluting our vote value? I think Fritz just answered that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a smaller vote value internally. Yeah, very small difference.
Okay, any further discussion?
I don't have any other questions at this point.
A motion was made and seconded, right? Or not yet?
I believe so. I don't know. I wasn't.
Make a motion. Tony Falcone.
Am I on? Yes, I moved.
Representative, did you make a motion?
I moved to approve this resolution.
Is there a second?
Rob LaVille, second.
Okay, any further discussion?
The only question I have at this point, and then I see Kevin Payne has also asked again. Janet Campbell, North Texas indicates, how are we going to take an official counted vote?
What was that again?
Janet Campbell asks, are we going to take an official counted vote? I think she's wondering if we're going to use an election runner process.
Well, if that's what the members request, we will do it.
Kevin has been.
I had the same question. I don't want to prolong this by forcing another election runner vote. But I do think this is being handled very strangely. I don't understand why there wasn't more forewarning of this and a clearer illustration of what the effect would be. But I just want the record to note that we're opposed to this. US Club Soccer is opposed, and there's 4 of us on. And if you want, we can each register that.
Andy Marion has something he'd like to share. Janet Campbell also knows that she believes it to be important to do an election runner type thing if it's affecting the value of our voting.
Okay, you ready for me?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go.
Are you, I have a question, just to be sure I understand this. If this resolution is approved now, is Kevin's point true that it really wouldn't affect anything until next February when the adult council has its annual meeting? Is that true?
That's a question for Tony, who's on the credentials committee.
Hey, the reason this came up in this fashion at this moment, a request was made to the credentials committee from a few individuals to be voting delegates. The credentials committee met Friday of last week on this matter and decided that if the adult council approves the bylaws of US soccer, of US adult soccer that provides for additional delegates, then the credentials committee would not stand in its way. Therefore, that's why this resolution was put together. And the only time to be able to present this was at this meeting. This would allow a few individuals to contact US Soccer on Monday and change their delegate status from one category to another. I have no idea how many will do it. The way to vote is based on the number of delegates that the youth have, which count as one vote per delegate. And then ours is a ratio of that. So for instance, if there were 500 youth delegates and we had 250 adult delegates, then the adult delegates votes would be counted as 2 for every one that's the on the youth. And that's how that number is determined. So there are a lot of factors trying to figure out exactly what the weight's going to be. But Fritz did some math. I don't know if it's going to be exactly as he has, because it's got to be weighed against the youth delegates. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be something close to that. It's not going to be a big percentage of votes per delegate that will be lost.
Tony, this is John. I got a procedural question because of Kevin did make the point that this kind of sprung up. And you know, as you mentioned, you know, the credentials committee just did this on Friday, correct?
Friday a week ago.
Well, a week ago Friday, yes.
Yes.
So this was just presented to us this week, correct?
Correct.
So are we procedurally not abiding by, and I don't know if we have bylaws in the U.S. Adult Council that state this, of not giving the members at least a 30-day or 60-day notice that this was coming?
We have no rules for the adult council, unfortunately.
About Robert's Rules of Order, does they state anything?
I do not know if Robert's Rules of Orders require a 30-day notice or not.
I don't either.
All right, next person I have who raised their hand was Chaz, and he might have an answer to that question as well as his original comment.
Yeah, I don't think Robert Rules speaks to that, but I've not done any adequate research on it. It would be any resolution you can make in a board meeting. To answer Mr. Payne's question, again, this is up to 12 people. It specifically says that an individual can't vote in 2 capacities. So John and Richard, for example, would very likely choose to vote as US Soccer board members. So that would not change things. But if everyone did, if 100% of everyone did, it would change each one of the 5 US club soccer votes by 0.0011684752%. So de minimis, I think, is once again, and it gives our past presidents the ability to attend and vote, along with board members who don't represent their particular state any longer.
All right, Kevin Payne has raised his hand as well.
Well, I said previously that we object to the procedure. John, we didn't need or weren't asking that we get 30 days of notice, but an hour of notice might have been nice. This is just amateur hour to present something like this in the middle of a meeting. I don't know what Robert's rules say, but if the adult council doesn't have any bylaws, then we probably haven't adopted Robert's rules either. So I don't dispute that the effect would be de minimis. I trust your math. I would have liked to have seen it earlier. And it's pretty unprofessional to handle things this way.
Just in response to Kevin's comment, Dan Trainer is putting the question and answer that there is bylaws for the adult council. All right, we have Dave Laraba here.
Yeah, good afternoon. I hate to say it, I'm going to agree with Kevin twice in one meeting because I'll probably get thrown out of USYS, but Kevin, don't report me. I think that, the point that this should have been told to us ahead of time.
I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong button for Dave. I'll let him back, sorry.
Okay. So you cut me off because you don't like what I'm saying. You're throwing me out of USASA too, right?
Yeah,
No,
absolutely. Sorry about that, Dave.
No, I think that, it's not just Kevin's group, US Club, that we all lose some of our vote. And I just think it's something that we should have been able to look at, see the exact numbers. Having Richard and the other past presidents have a vote is no problem. I think the process is not good. And so that in that point, I agree with Kevin that it's not a good process.
I just note that Dave Bortz from Rhode Island is also put in the question and answer that he doesn't feel this is a good way to make changes. Next, I have Tom Moore.
So
sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Could someone point out how this change, if it were made today, would actually allow it to become in effect for the Federation National Council meeting next Saturday, since the resolution pertained to USASA bylaws?
Can answer that. Okay, first of all, I apologize for the process, but this is the only way to present this. This wasn't something that was planned out months ago. This was a request made to the Credentials Committee. The Credentials Committee met on this topic, and the Credentials Committee agreed that if this body, the Adult Council, were to approve this resolution or allow a resolution to admit these additional delegates, that they would then honor the request of the Adult Council, and they will allow it for the meeting coming up next week. Again, this would only be for folks that are not, you cannot be a delegate in more than one capacity.
Okay,
and that's why the resolution was presented as it is.
I think we've had quite a bit of discussion on this. I tend to agree a little bit more on Kevin's point where, having this done on Friday, presented to us on whenever we got it, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever day it was, and not giving our members enough notice. I do feel that we are a little bit out of line, and we, again, a motion was made and seconded, but my recommendation would be to, again, it's not going to, we have a meeting next week, an AGM. It may affect a couple of people who may not be able to vote next week, but in all fairness to all members, I would recommend that the motion be withdrawn and present it maybe at next year's Adult Council for consideration. and give people more time to understand what this resolution is and the effects on the voting strength. Even though it's minimal, but it still does have an effect on the voting strength. So that is my recommendation. I'm not the maker of the motion, but I think, in fairness to our members who, did not see this until now, would be the right way to go.
Just Tom Moore notes in the Q&A, it says USASA would have to authorize this change, but USASA wouldn't have a meeting between now and then to make this change.
Yeah, point of order.
Go ahead, Tony.
These are our current bylaws of USSF, which do provide for these additional delegates. So there's no action to be taken by USASA. This is just an action that needs to be taken by this adult council. And if the desire is not to do it at this meeting, I would recommend that when the U.S. Adult Soccer Association meets again, that perhaps they conduct a special council meeting of the adult council to look at this resolution, so that come next year, there's ample time for these additional delegates to be able to register properly. But I request that we just call to the vote.
Okay, there's a call to the vote by the motion maker. So are we voting online?
We can do a poll.
Okay.
Because it's the members online. So we actually have that lined up. The poll is very easy. It's a yes, no vote, and you just click on it. So Nick, can you launch that? Oh.
So this is not a weighted vote, right? This is just a directional vote. Is that right, Duncan? Now you're muted.
Yeah. We have to wait till everyone's voted. Everyone who's still online right now. 103 people.
So what this require? Simple majority to pass or 2/3? Simple majority.
Simple majority, yeah. There's a few people have dropped off the courses.
Yeah.
That's it. Couple more. People have dropped off. So of those that are on, 69, nearly 70% of people agree that 69% of those that voted say that we should, that they don't approve the motion to adopt the resolution.
So 69% said no.
Yep.
So then it does not get approved for this meeting.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you. I'll inform the Credentials Committee.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. Next is what? Good of the game?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll open it up for good of the game. If anyone has any good of the game they would like to bring up. And
we'll start with Kevin Payne.
Kevin, you're muted.
I apologize. What was the question?
No, and you have anything for good of the game, Kevin?
Oh, no. I really echo John's opening thoughts about keeping the those people who've been harmed by the coronavirus pandemic in our thoughts, and particularly right now, the people in the Southwest who are suffering mightily. People in New Hampshire are accustomed to that kind of weather, not so much in Houston, Texas.
Kevin, but I'm down in Virginia Beach where it's a little bit better, so.
Okay.
Thank you. Next up, we have David Ford.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Just some thoughts and prayers. In Rhode Island, we've lost some big founders of the game in the last actually month or two. Former vice president of our state association and founder of the largest Hispanic league in southern New England, Abelardo Hernandez, founder of the Liga Guatemalateca. We also lost somebody else in Cape Verdean community, John Brito, who was a founder and the director of the Boys Club in Providence for many, many years and mentored thousands of young Portuguese and Cape Verdean kids who grew up playing soccer and basketball. And then last of all, my youth coach and college coach for a period of time. We lost one of the great college coaches from the 1950s through 1980s, Cliff Stevenson, who passed away. He was the coach at Brown University, and he passed away 2 weeks ago. So, and just great to be on the call with everybody today. It's a new way of doing things, and we're all learning these things. Hopefully we'll get to see each other sometime later this year.
I think up next is Bill Davey. Bill, you'll need to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little technology challenge, so I had my hand up earlier when we were discussing, and this isn't for the good of the game, but it involves the bylaws proposals by U.S. Soccer, and maybe I missed it during the conversation, but the portion of the bylaws or proposals from U.S. Soccer about the election of president and vice president of U.S. Soccer being in-house within the board, as opposed to membership as it's been done in the past. Is that withdrawn or still valid, or what's the status of that?
Bill, that was not part of the bylaw changes for this year. That wasn't.
Okay.
So I would imagine for next year's AGM, we would still be voting for a U.S. Soccer president.
Okay, I just wanted clarification. I must have missed out on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Up next is Fritz Marth.
Two quick things for good of the game. Number one, it's not often that I, as a forensic engineer, get to meld sort of my professional life with my soccer life. But I have become involved with an organization through the American Bar Association. And I'm not a lawyer, but because of my business, I'm involved with them. And it's called Building for Good. And what Building for Good, their motto is, we provide construction legal services for people who build for the people who need it the most. And what it is, it's pro bono construction legal services for nonprofits who need help in, say, if you're building a field or you're building some sort of a facility and you can't afford legal advice to go in front of a zoning board or to negotiate with to negotiate a contract. This is a organization that is out there. They are there. You can check them out. The website is building4good.org. Again, it's construction legal services for not-for-profits who are building for the better good. So I think there's probably a lot of organizations in our family that could use it. Second, and very quick, I'm putting in a shameless plug for my brother's book that he put out here, Building an Amateur Soccer Nation. I hope everybody reads it. It's some very good ideas and some a lot of food for thought in there and a lot of surprises you'll find out. For example, we talk about our small state associations, but when you really look at states, and he mentions it in there, like Hawaii and Alaska, they probably have the largest number of registered players per their population. So again, it's a great book. Go out on Amazon and buy it. Thank you.
Any more? That is it. Well, seeing there is no more, again, I would like to thank everyone for your time today. I thought we had two excellent meetings. Okay, Duncan has something. You're on mute. No.
Sorry, one of the staff's got to get to, they got to get someone.
Okay. Again, thanks for the time, and again, great meeting, and thanks once again for your trust in me to lead the organization for another 18 months. A lot of work ahead of us all. Again, it's not about me. It's not about the board. It's about all of us together. And you guys have my number. Call me when you have ideas, when you have concerns, if there's something that's bugging you. Like I says, I'm pretty available. You know, I'm not going to say 24/7 because I do sleep, but I'm pretty readily available early morning through the evening if you want to give me a call. So thanks, everyone. And with that, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. So again, thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, John.